Hello, this is Thomas, K4SWL. If you're new here, I like to do real-time, real-life amateur radio field activation videos. And today I'm at Holmes Educational State Forest, one of my go-to spots here, I believe, for the fall term. I'm taking my daughters to some classes that are not super far from here, so I think I may be able to hit up this park quite a bit this fall, possibly into next year even. And I like this one. You've seen me at a few educational state forests here in North Carolina. They're wonderful. They're usually pretty quiet compared to other state parks because they're really designed around education. And so usually it's school kids that are here, on site in buses. And the staff teach them about forestry and conservation and all those good things. And today is very early in the school year. This is probably the first week for most kids going to school, either this week or next week. So it's pretty quiet here at Holmes today. And seeing anybody else here except a crew that's working on the roof of the restrooms. So it's just me. And I realize every time I come out here that this park in particular, it can have issues with RFI. Even though you feel like you're kind of in the middle of nowhere, there's actually a farm right there, right across that fence. And normally I set up here in the woods, and it's actually pretty close to all that stuff. And I've gotten noise, I can't remember if it was on the 20 or 40 meter band. So I've separated myself just a little bit more, maybe a few more feet from the fence. And probably going to hit one of these branches here, put up my 40 meter end-fed half wave. Today is going to be slightly different. I'm doing another one of my Getting to Know You series, and this time I'll be featuring the Mountain Topper MTR-3B, which is in this little pack here. It's actually a very special day for this little radio and for me, and I'll tell you all about that. But first, let's go ahead and put up the antenna and get that going. We'll get the antenna deployed, set up the radio, then we'll do the Getting to Know You segment, which will take a few minutes, and then we'll do an activation, hopefully. If propagation's any good, we'll do an activation. I will tell you this, I don't edit my videos. If you're new here and you've just found me, I don't edit them. So these are real-time, real life. It's just as if you were here with me. If you're not into that sort of thing and you would really like to keep it concise, I do mark chapters in the timeline on YouTube. So you can just like hover your pointer below on the timeline and it'll show you where the chapters are for the different parts of this particular video. Also, if you're trying to follow along on CW, I always try to show my logbook as I'm logging, but I usually take a picture of the logbook and put it in my field report on QRP.com. So always look for the link to the field report on QRP.com. That's actually where I spend most of my time. The videos are they kind of complement the field report as opposed to the opposite. The field report's really what I put in my time, like usually about 3 or 4 hours per field report to put all that together. So be sure to check that out. It has links to everything I have here, more information about the park, the reasons why I did this activation, all that good stuff. And before I forget, thank you so much to my Patreon and Coffee Fund supporters. You guys are awesome and you make all this possible. So let's go ahead and get started here by setting up the antenna. Haven't really looked around very much, but I think I'm going to shoot an antenna through one of these branches here. I always try to think of ways when I'm putting an antenna in a tree. I always try to look at the situation and think, how can I do this in a way that people aren't going to like run through it, or it's not going to be in the way. So I think I can do this with the antenna line coming down here and it won't be in the way of anyone. But it's a little awkward. I've got to admit, this is going to be a little awkward to shoot the line through, but I think I can do it. And it's a 40 meter end-fed half wave, so there's, I don't know, probably 60 feet of line in this. So I'm going to just go from one of those branches, and very conveniently, the sun is right in my eyes. So let me set up this camera real quick, and you can watch me make probably multiple attempts to get this one this time. Let me check over here first, see if this is a better spot to line up. I don't know if there are any branches between me. I'm trying not to step on too many ferns or anything here. There's not a lot here. There's really not a lot here. There's one little tree. But this would be off the path a little bit more. Maybe I will try to do this. And the sun won't be in my eyes as badly. But there's that one like dead tree. We'll go for it. If it doesn't work, this is part of the fun for me. I gotta be honest. Is doing the actual throw line part. It's kind of the whole sport of this. Here we go. I really enjoy doing this part of it. This is my version of radio sport. Okay, I don't know how well you'll be able to see me, but we'll see what happens here. First thing I do is just get out my throw line. This is a really good one for dense foliage. I have a 12-ounce weight on it. These are really good for punching through dense stuff. Not that this is super dense, actually, but it's a good one for it. And this particular throw line, this yellow throw line from Weaver, again, I'll link to all this stuff in my field report. This stuff's really, really great. It's a little bulkier. It's good. Here we go. Not quite. Do that again. I need a little more height on that. Will second time be the charm? No. So I'll try to show you real quick what I'm doing here. My aim has to be pretty accurate because I'm really going for just that branch right there. That one, if I can see it right there, and that's not easy to do. So I did hit some branches, but they weren't really what I wanted. So we're going to try this again. Again, it's part of the fun of the whole thing is doing this deployment. I love this part. It's the part you can't always just predict very well. Okay, come on, Lucky 3. Let's do this. Nope. Nope, that wasn't it. That would work almost. Let's try this again. I may have to change my angle of attack. This is a pretty complicated one. Actually, I see another place where I could put the line, and I may go for that. We'll see. There we go. You probably can't see the end of the line here. My camera lens is not that wide. Here we go. Yeah, I got it that time. Perfect. Very pleased with that one. Okay. Yeah, you can't tell in this video probably, but I was aiming for that tree, and then I realized when I moved over here that that one would work just as well. And so I shot for that one. And if anything on that particular one, so it took 4 tries, but worked really well actually. It's even better than better position I would have gotten in that dead tree. Being really careful not to step on these ferns. They're everywhere. I love ferns. But this is kind of, to be honest, a lot of this stuff's kind of grown up. I think they'll probably in the next few weeks be cleaning a lot of these down branches and things around here, my guess would be, as the school season starts up. So, let's set up the antenna now. Okay. Let's see here. I'll go ahead and set up the antenna. I also need to plug this guy up. I realized that I either need to change out the battery in my camera or plug it in. I'm going to plug it in a little bit later. Hopefully I can get the antenna up before the camera dies. If it does just die, that's the reason why. So I'll take the weight off of this, and I'll just throw it on the table. Put it through here. I just use the same simple slip knot that I use with everything else, and it works really well. That holds it fine. And be careful when I put this down that I'm not laying it on top of too many sticks. That's the one thing about this particular site, is there are tons and tons of little limbs and twigs and things that the lines can catch on, because it's not quite as meticulously maintained as some of the other parks I go to. But so I could catch a twig when I start pulling it up. The line tends to want to knot around something. So let me go to the end over here and start pulling this up, and hopefully I can do that without too many problems. That worked out just fine. So all I did was, instead of using my weight, sometimes I'll tie off my weight to just put tension on the line. Instead, I just did a really loose kind of knot around that, a slip knot around that tree over there, just to kind of hold the antenna in an inverted V position. But frankly, this is almost more like a vertical with just a little tiny bit of V coming off the top of it. So, okay, I'm gonna stop this camera, plug it in so we have a little bit of charge, and we'll get started with the rest of the video. Something funny here real quick. I wanted a seat to set on because this is like really nasty. Like it'll show up, the type of trousers I'm wearing today, they're light colored and all this algae stuff's going to show up on it. So I thought, what can I use as a portable seat? Well, my Blue Ridge Overland Gear pack here, I ripped out all of the internal pockets, and I'm going to put this down as a seat. That'll be nice and soft, actually. Perfect. Okay, let's get back to work here. Okay, I'm back. And the only thing I did off camera, so I went ahead and hooked up my BNC to the antenna back there for my RG316 cable. This is a homemade cable I made, by the way. I've made quite a few of these, and this is one that normally lives with my MTR-3B pack. Let's see, I've already set up my logs. So I've got paper logs here and also have hammers on the side. I have no cell phone service here. At least sometimes it'll pop in for just a second and then leave again, but it's really not a place with cell phone service. So I did schedule the activation in advance, knowing I would be here, and I think I scheduled it for 10:30 a.m. and it's 10:31 right now. So hopefully I'll get spotted as long as the reverse beacon network functionality is working. So let's pull out the radio. By the way, I should say this is a Tom Ben HLT2 pack that I built for my MTR-3B. I put together the pack around my MTR-3B. So it's a fully 100% self-contained kit. Has everything in it, including a throw line and battery, everything. Everything's in here, antenna, all of it. But I'm actually using components outside of this kit today. So I've got a logbook that's that I've been using for other things. And yeah, and let me tell you about the special part about this radio now. So first of all, this actually is a new to me radio. This is just a little 3D printed cover that came with it. I actually have one just like it. And you'll notice the plastic is still on the lens. And the reason why is because this is basically a new old stock radio. I have a friend and a supporter here on the channel and on QRPR.com. And he has the MTR-4B, and which is the 4-band version. This is a 3-band version of the Mountain Topper. And he prefers the 4-band. And so he offered to sell me his MTR-3B for a nice market price. And I said, heck yeah, because I already have one, but I kind of wanted a second one as a backup. I feel really fortunate that I can even do this, I'll be honest. For most of my amateur radio career, I just had 1 or 2 radios, and it's only been in the past decade that I started to accumulate more and more radios, and during the pandemic I accumulated a lot of them. And the Mountain Topper MTR-3B, my first one, I bought as a present to myself for doing my very first POTA CW activation in 2020. And that little radio is one I kind of lusted after for a really long time. They actually stopped making the MTR-3B, I believe, that year, and they started making the 4B. And L&R told me at one point that they had no intention of making the 3B again. I don't know if that still stands or if that's just how they felt at the time, but they were concentrating on the 4B and other things. And so they weren't really planning to come back to the 3B, but the 3B is actually my favorite format of this radio. I really, really love it. I like the 4B a lot. It's a little bigger, and it includes the 80 meter band, but I just don't use 80 meters in the field often enough to warrant that. And I usually use this radio for things like SOTA or very portable POTA activations. So I just don't need 80 meters for that. And so I'd rather go with even a smaller size. And to just show how small this radio is, like here's my mechanical pencil with it. Here's my throw weight. This radio is the size of a pack of playing cards, and I've heard people say that, and by golly, it is. If you get a pack of playing cards in the little box, it's this size, less this BNC connector. Exactly the same size. This is a teeny tiny radio, and if you've never seen one of these before, even knowing it's small, the first time you see it, you'll be like, oh my gosh, that is so tiny. So anyway, this is maybe its first time on the air, I think ever, and I have not used it at my house. I haven't done anything. I just, on a whim, I picked it up today because I got this radio maybe 2 weeks ago, but I just haven't had time to take it to the field yet. And so I thought, what better time to do this? And I haven't set it up yet. So I thought during the Getting to Know You segment that we'll go through a little bit about setting up like the message memories and stuff like that. This may put a lot of you to sleep, but you can just see how it works. This is the user's manual, and I keep a copy of it here because it's one I think you really need to, unless you use this radio very frequently, you need to reference this a lot because it's not super intuitive. But yeah, it's once you learn the ropes, it's not a problem. So since I already have all of my MTR-3B stuff, it's not a problem to hook this up the way I want to. So I'll go ahead and plug in the antenna. I'll plug in the power, which isn't actually hooked up to a battery yet. And I'll show you the battery here in a second. So to fuse it, I actually have on my bag here like a little fuse that's an inline blade fuse, and it's just here in the pack. And so what I do is plug in my cable to this, and then I get my battery out. Oh, and by the way, well, I'll tell you more about this in a second. This is my battery. This is actually the 40 meter in-fed half wave that kind of lives with this radio. This is a 9 volt, 3 amp hour lithium iron phosphate battery. And I use 9 volts with my MTR-3B. And I'll explain why in a second. So all I do then is just plug this into the other end of the blade fuse, and now I have power. I also need audio out, and since I'm doing a video today, I will use an external speaker. So I'll put this in the headphone jack and plug it into my external speaker. This is a little Anchor Soundcore Mini. Hopefully it'll be quiet. Today when I set this up, there won't be any noises. I'm just hoping there's not a lot of QRM. Last time I was here, there was a reasonable amount. What else do I need? I need to hook in my paddles, and I'm going to use my little CW Morris SP4 paddles this time. I actually have a set of Palm Pico paddles that I may attach to the side of this radio. And so I've got some of those, and I'm probably going to do that at some point, but haven't done it yet. It's what a lot of people have done to keep it really small, and I'll probably end up doing that at some point. But these SP4 CW Morse paddles are amazing. Okay, let's see, where can I put my speaker where it won't be in my way? There's a lot of stuff going on here. Not the neatest setup I've ever done, but a lot of this is because I want this to be in a video, and I find using a speaker instead of an inline recorder, it just works better on YouTube later. Sometimes YouTube kind of nulls out the sound of the CW, and that's kind of bad. I'll just leave the speaker right here. Okay, so it's all hooked up. Let's go ahead and turn it on first of all, and turn on the speaker. Where's the speaker switch? There it is. That's a good sound, and you can see here on the display it's 9.7 volts. Now the first thing we're going to do is peel this protector off of the display. If I can get in here to do it. Come on, come on. I just need a little corner. There we go. Off you go. That's a good feeling. Okay. Put this in my bag so it doesn't fall on the ground. Okay, let me just take a look here. We'll try to make this where you can see the screen easily enough. Okay, I think you can see that. Yep, it looks like you can. It is a little, you know, difficult to see sometimes. It's a small screen and there's a lot of reflection, but hopefully you can see this. Now, let's talk about the MTR-3B. And I should say, if you haven't seen one of these Getting to Know You videos before, this isn't exactly a review. All of the radios that I'm featuring in this series are radios that are kind of in my permanent radio collection. And so I have really no intention to sell any of these or trade them or anything. They're ones I like. So this isn't going to be a highly critical review. This is going to be more or less telling you why I like this particular radio. You know, what it is I think that's appealing about it. And in the others I've done in this series, that's sort of what I focused on. And I enjoy doing that. So the MTR-3B, I may have mentioned this, but the reason I bought a second one is because they no longer make the MTR-3B before. They no longer make the MTR-3B, period, not before. They did make them before. They're not making them again. And I really wanted to have a spare one because I love this radio so much. And they're relatively affordable if you're getting them at a good market price. I have seen these go for quite a lot of money in the past couple of years because there's been a little bit of a run for them as CW operators more and more are hitting the field. More and more people are doing SOTA and POTA. This radio has kind of climbed in popularity. And so they're only available used, and the price had gone up on them. I got it for very much a fair market price from this friend, and felt really comfortable buying it from him. And I'm happy to have a second one. I do have second copies of a few radios. I do my FT817, mainly because it's so darn affordable to buy a second one. I've gotten those for incredible deals, and so I just picked up another one. And that's a radio that I lend out to people a whole lot when they want to just play with a proper field radio, a QRP radio. I now have a second MTR-3B. I have a second KX1. And is that it? I think that's it. I want a second KX2 as well, but that'll be a while. Those are pretty pricey. So that's the deal. Now, what is so appealing about the MTR-3B? What's appealing about it is actually the things it doesn't have. When I did a review of the MTR-4B on QRP, and you can probably, if I don't link to it above, and I'll probably forget, remind me and I'll link to it. But if I don't, it's not a problem. Just go to QRP.com and just look up Mountain Topper MTR-4B review. And in that, I mentioned that the Mountain Topper series, if I do an analogy, I like to use cars sometimes. Like my KX2 is kind of like it's like my Subaru. It kind of does everything. It can go off-road. It can hit the highways. It can go interstate speeds, highway speeds. I can fit my family in it. We can go places. It's just, it just does everything. And that's the reason I love my Subaru so much. The Mountain Topper series, they're more like sort of Formula One cars in the car world. And it's because they're stripped down to only what you need to do, ideally, a summits on the air activation, and not a lot else. They're stripped down so that if you're a CW operator and you do SOTA and you have one of these with a very basic kit, then you can hop on the air with a very, very lightweight radio. And that is the appeal of the MTR-3B. And this comes from a long lineage of radios designed by Steve Weber, some really just kind of well-known, well-respected transceivers. And it started out, I think, with the ATS series, which really were designed for the Appalachian Trail use. And they were built as kits in Altoids tins. And this is about the same form factor as an Altoids tin. And they were only really available as kits. And those are actually kind of hard to find, too, because the people who built those won't let go of them. So eventually, though, Steve improved the design and updated it and did things to it. And he came out with the MTR-3B series, which the first set of these only had one red LED digit on it. It didn't have this little LCD screen. This is technically the MTR-3B LCD version. And I had a chance to get one with the one red LED, and I think those are really cool looking. I almost wanted to get it just because I thought it was cool looking. But the reason I got the LCD version is it's exactly the exact same one I have, my other one. My other Mountain Topper, if I'm being honest, I named it Tuppence, and I named this one Threepence. So the great thing about having two that are identical is if I had to in the future swap parts or something, then I've got two identical radios to do that. Plus, I actually really like the display on the Mountain Topper with the LCD screen. It just kind of gives you more information more quickly. So I can see the voltage, I can see the time, which is not set properly. I can see the frequency and my speed. And that's all kind of really nice. And I love that. So, yeah, so why is it a Formula One? It has a lot of things stripped out of it. You have, and this sounds like a hit list, like a cons list, or negatives, but they're not. And if you speak to SOTA people, they'll tell you they're not. There's no built-in ATU, no matching at all. There's no internal speaker. There are no filter selections. There's only one. It only does one mode on 3 bands, 40, 30, and 20. It has no RF gain. It doesn't have an encoder. It doesn't have a keypad for direct frequency entry, though you can do direct frequency entry with your key. And I'll tell you more about that later. To switch the bands, you use these little 3 switches here, and they all have to be in the same position. There's no volume control on this radio. Really, the volume control all comes from what I'll have to do here on my speaker. And we'll just have to see how well that works. There is a side tone adjustment for side tone volume, and that is the one thing that could be a bit of a gotcha today. The side tone's kind of loud by default, and you can open up the radio. You just pull off these screws right here, undo all the rest of the back of it. You pull out the board, and there's a trimmer pot on the back that you change the side tone volume. I will be doing that with this radio. I did that with my other radio, so it's just a little more comfortable. What else about this radio? It has a physical on and off switch, but by making this radio so insanely basic, it's also insanely portable, insanely lightweight, and insanely efficient. And by efficient, I mean, I think the most efficient general coverage transceiver I own is probably the Lab 599 TX500, Discovery TX500. That one is well known for being very efficient with battery usage. I think it pulls about 110 milliamps on receive. That is insanely efficient for a general coverage transceiver. It does 110. This one does around 18 milliamps. So it literally just sips the battery. This battery right here would probably take me through, I don't know, 8 activations or something insane. And the voltage range on this is very, very wide too. Now, there is one gotcha with this, and that is you don't want to push much more than 12 volts into this radio. And a lot of lithium iron phosphate batteries and a lot of the other batteries we use are actually 13.2, 13.6 or so volts, especially right after you've charged them. And a lot of power supplies put out 13.8 volts. You do not want to run this radio, the MTR-3B, with 13.8 volts. In fact, I would never suggest going over 12 volts. If you do go over 12 volts, if you've got a really good match on your antenna, then it's probably going to be fine and it'll run a full 5 watts. At 9 volts, it runs about 3 watts, maybe just a hair above that. So we're talking about 3 watts here right now. This particular model has no SWR readout or power output. Well, it does have power output. It tells you what it's going to do, I think. Does it? I can't remember. Or maybe I just know that it does 3 watts with 9 volts. But it doesn't have an SWR meter. And the MTR-4B does have an SWR meter. And I got to say, that is one addition I wish this MTR-3B had. It's the reason I wish Eleanor and Steve would go back and revisit this radio and just add that one thing that would really make a big difference to me. But I do have a product coming down the pipeline from ARA N6ARA, and he has a little SWR meter that you can attach onto the outside of the radio that makes it really easy to check the SWR of the antenna. I'm so confident with this particular antenna that I'm operating with right now that I'm not worried about it not being, matched up really nicely. Else I wouldn't, I'm really careful with this, with the MTR-3B otherwise. So I'm not saying it's not durable. It's just if you're pushing 12 volts, you want a really good match. At 9 volts, I think if the SWR is a little off, it really doesn't matter as much. What else? I need to set up the message memories. And really, when you get this radio, as you can see, it's very minimal. You have to actually look through this. And I haven't set mine up in so long that I printed out this to bring along with me. And the manual is very easy to read. It tells you, so the receive current, it's 20 milliamps at 9 volts, 15 milliamps at 12 volts, right? So we're probably at like 16, 17 or something right now at 9.7 volts. And it does say here 3 watts at 9 volts, 5 watts at 12 volts. It tells about the display in here, band selection. All three of these switches have to be in the same position in order for this to operate properly. And that sounds a little crazy, but it's actually a super clever design. It keeps the radio simple, lightweight, and low cost by doing that design. And that's a really nice thing about this. The function menus are here. And you hold down the FN switch, and it scrolls through all these options at a rate of about 1 per second. So it takes you into these different configurations. So it'll actually, you can turn on and off in the config menu, the Morse frequency and enunciation. You can change your key or speed. And I think this is it's at 20, and that is what I want right now. There's a straight key mode, of course. But that side tone is going to be really loud, unfortunately. This is how to do direct frequency entry. And you just tap down the LD, the down arrow, and to load the new frequency. And you send, I think it's the last 3 digits of the frequency. And it takes you to that frequency within that band. It can't switch bands, of course, but it'll stay within that same band. This is what I need to do right now, the message entry. And so it says it can be up to 63 characters long. It actually has 3 message memories, a total of 3. And that's the amazing thing to me. It's 1, 2, and 3. As small as this radio is, it has 3 message memories. I have much more expensive, bigger general coverage radios that only have 1 or 2 message memories. So that's pretty impressive. So usually what I do is set up this one for POTA. I set up this memory message for SOTA for calling CQ, and then I set up this one for RR thank you 72DE K4SWL. So what I need to do now is go into this message memory, if I can remember how to do it. Let's see. I want to enter a message. I think, let me just double check before I mess this up here. Yes. Now, I'm in the enter message memory, and I think you just start sending this and then save it. Now I'm going to back this up, backspace that. I want a space in there. How do I put a space in? I have to remember word spaces are automatically inserted after word space pause of 7 dot lengths. Okay, so I actually just need to give it a little more room here. Let's try this again. Then I think I check it. There we go. And now I want to record that to memory 1, and it stores it. And it gives me the R to tell me that it's restored it, that's recorded it. Now I'm going to do CQ SOTA. Whoops, backspace. See how easy this is to do? Okay. So this is going to be my SOTA one. And I'm going to put that in memory 2. And I'm going to store one more. Okay, let's see. I will do and then I backspace off that and click check. Sorry, just getting a little water off camera here. That's all there is to it. Now, I think to get out, I just do, that's going to go into memory 3. There we go. Now, there we go. Whoops, did I do that right? Okay, right. Okay, adjust speed. That's what I've got it on. Okay. Okay, I'm back up there. Now, to do fast tuning, if you can see this, hopefully you can see this, to do fast tuning, because like it is really slow, it's painfully slow when you're tuning around, right? What you can do is press the other button, so when I'm going up, I press the up button first, and it goes really slowly. and then I press the down button at the same time, and it goes a little faster. Boy, I'm not hearing anything on the band right now, though. It's not a good sign. Let's move up to the 20 meter band. And so it sends a 2 to let you know that you're on the 20 meter band. Let's go down here a little bit. And so I'm going to press the other. There we go. I'm hearing more there. So we're going to go for the 20 meter band when I hop on here. Now to replay the message, all you do is you hit this KM, and then you press the button that you want to play the message. And then I think you can press and hold to do beacon mode on this. I mean, this is so cleverly designed. It just blows my mind. To me, it's like a little spy radio. I think, like, I don't know, back in the Cold War, I think spies would have loved to have had something this tiny that's this effective. Okay, so we really need to hop on the air at this point. It's almost 11 o'clock. I need to see if there's any life in the ionosphere today. And let's try to do this activation, if we can. Oh, it's set up for, I set this up for straight key somehow. Let's get back in. Oh wait, did I do that correctly? I do hold. Okay, let me figure out how to get out of straight key mode real quick. Okay, straight key mode, mono band plug, straight key, tap the RIT switch while in adjust key. So there we go. There we go. We're on the air. So all I did was hit this one and then the FN button to get memory number 1. You can see why I love this. Now all I'm trying to do right now is get the reverse beacon network to pick me up. We're going to move up to the 20 meter band there. Okay, it's on beacon 2. And I'm going to be really hopeful here. Well, we're coming up to 1,500 hours. This could be a really long activation today. Okay, I think I got that right. I think I got a WA0. I'll go for him first. There's no S meter on here, so all the S reports I get, the signal reports I get, are by audio. Strong signal. You get a big signal today. Space. Okay. out of space on my camera. I think I heard an N5. Good to get you in here. Now I'm going to try the message memory. It sounds a little slower than I would normally do, but there you go. Just take a little pressure off. I think I got that right. This is insane. Gotcha. Came up there a little bit. That's bug spray. Okay. Can't hear you. Okay, wait. come on. There can't be two K2s. Gotcha. Good path into New York this morning. Another portable station. Okay. Okay, I heard a KF. We'll try this now. Nice, park to park. Good to get to the logs. Sorry, I'm touching the key where I shouldn't. Sometimes I grip keys too hard. Okay, that was really nice. Okay, wow, man, that was nonstop, wasn't it? You see how much fun these radios are? So the band was in good shape today. Well, it was in decent shape. I was getting a lot of signals. I was hearing all the way out to the West Coast and a lot into New York and New England, it looks like, and into Texas a little bit, and Oklahoma. That was kind of nice. So it was doing really well. So that was with 3 watts of power, 3.5 watts, something like that. And this is why I love the Mountain Topper so much. You saw it wasn't too hard to set up for the very first time. I mean, this was as a brand new radio. Again, I don't think it's ever been operated before. The fellow I bought it from, he bought this thinking that he would be using this one, but then he fell in love with the MTR-4B, so he just kind of set it on a shelf. And it's working brilliantly. It just works great. I haven't tried it on 30 or 40 meters yet. I would do that today, but frankly, I don't have enough room on my camera's storage to do that right now. I'd have to really kind of change things around. Right in the middle of the activation, my camera said, "Oh, your card's full." And I'd forgotten that I have done some activations on here and I forgot to clear them out of the card last time I downloaded them. And that's the reason why. So I quickly went in, found something I could remove, removed it, and it gave me a few extra minutes of space until I can really sit down and take a closer look at it. But golly, this was so much fun. I mean, this is the thing about the MTR-3B. It's so tiny, but it does the trick. You know, it really works effectively. And I'm going to turn off this speaker so I can turn on the radio here, and I'm not hearing things on the band or hearing people calling me again. But if you look at this, it has everything you need on the panel here. It shows you the frequency, your speed, the time, which I haven't set yet. What is it? Actually, you know what? This isn't too far off. Did I set this? I haven't set this. It's not too far off. I think that's just by chance. And it shows your voltage, which is really cool. It has a little internal battery in it, so when you do set the time, it'll keep the time in between sessions if you want to do that. The audio is really clean. It has a very low noise floor, so it has great characteristics for the receiver. And frankly, you don't need any more than the stock filter that comes on this, which just sounds to me like it's probably about a 500 hertz filter. I could look through the documentation here probably to find out. Does it show it here on the front page? I don't see it mentioned immediately, but it's in here somewhere. I'm sure what the what the frequency is, but it sounds to me like 500 hertz, maybe slightly less than that, maybe 450 or so. But I could hear some stations that went slightly off frequency, which is what I want to hear. They sounded a little, different in tone, and that's what you're going for. The buttons are super easy to use. It's simple, and I really like the sound of it. I think it sounds like a great radio. Now, another radio that people like the MTR-3B, and some people call it kind of the poor man's MTR-3B, is the SW-3B from Venus. And it's also a fantastic radio. I have that in my Subaru at all times. It's in a headrest pouch. It's roughly the same size. It has the benefit of having an RF gain control and an AF gain control that you can just manipulate and maneuver, and also an encoder, a little encoder knob, which is really nice. But it doesn't have 3 message memories, and message memories are really nice. It only really has one. The Venus SW3B has one, and I use it mainly for signing off, I think, other than CQ. I can't remember how I have it set up right now, but that's it. Well, somehow I got just like 1 bar of signal strength, so now my phone's bugging me. So yeah, this is why I love the MTR-3B so much. It's the reason why I bought a second one, is I really wanted two of these. And again, the only radios I have two of are this one, the FT817, the KX1, and eventually I want a second KX2. Those are probably my favorite field portable radios. It doesn't mean that I don't like the 705 or the TX500 or any of the other. I mean, I got a whole bunch of others. The SW3B, my QCX Minis. Actually, I've got two of those because I have a 20-meter one and I bought a 30-meter one at Dayton Hamvention this year. So I do have two of those as well. So yeah, there you go. The MTR-3B. If you ever stumble across one of these, grab it. If it's the 1-digit version, go for it as well. You may want to either replace out the RCA type connector with a BNC, or just build an antenna that stays with this at all times that has an RCA input on it, and you'll be fine. You could easily build an antenna off of that, no problem at all. I just like BNCs because they're more universal among my radios, and I kind of like that. And normally I'd be operating this with headphones. And let me just show you, if I wasn't doing a video, these are the headphones I use. These are some Sennheisers I picked up in Germany when I lived there 20 years ago. And these are analog, and they have a little inline volume control, which is the reason why I like using it, because you need an analog inline volume control. And if you have that, then you have volume control for your MTR-3B. And that's the reason why I have these with this particular radio. And another way, if you're recording your activations, like the audio of your activations, then if you have a digital inline recorder, like I have a Sony and I have some others, a Sony and a Zoom that I use. And if you have those with you, of course, you can use the inline volume control on those in order to control the volume, which makes it really nice and easy as well. So anyway, I better hop off here. I'm going to run out of space on my memory card inside this camera. And I really do want to head out and maybe do one more park today if things work out really nicely. I've got a little time to do it, I think, so I may try to go for that. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me. I'm not going to film packing up this time, obviously, but I probably will the next time. Thank you so much for joining me. Take care. I hope you get to go out there and play a little bit of radio. And above all, be kind to one another. All we got on this planet is each other. Take care, and 7 3s.